Making Real Estate Fetch.
Okay, welcome to Making Real Estate Fetch. My name is Grace. I am your host, joined by my co-host, Tyler Ross of Ross Real Estate. Say hi, Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
On Making Real Estate Fetch, we break down all of the hard-to-absorb real estate knowledge for naive first-time homeowners or anyone who needs to know a little bit more about the wide world of real estate. So today's a very special day. We are joined with our own Deane, who is here, and we're going to talk about fixer-uppers. But do you want to introduce yourself just to start?
Sure. My name is Deane. I've been doing real estate for about 15 years, had my fair share of some fixer-uppers in there. Excited to talk to you guys about it.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, first thing, like off the top of your head, we're speaking to like a first-time homeowner, should I get a fixer-upper? What does your gut say?
Have you ever touched a power tool?
Yeah, I'd say you got to have expectations set, because the reality of a fixer-upper is variable. I mean, one, you're always going to peel back more than you think. Two, it's always going to take longer than you think. And three, it's always going to cost more than you think. So if you're prepared for those things and you don't mind living in a disaster zone for a period of time, then yeah, it's a great way to get some equity in your home.
What are the pros and cons, would you say?
Well, I think the best thing about it is, right, you take the home and you're able to shape it into something that's uniquely you. So, no home is the perfect home. Everything, there's something you want to change or do differently. And when you have a fixer-upper, you really have the opportunity to go one space at a time and turn it into you. Give it some personality. That's the positive of it. It's also, you can get in for a slightly cheaper price, and if you are handy, you can get away with doing things without paying somebody to do all of it.
Right.
So I think knowing your limits, though, is really important. What are the things that you can do and the things that you shouldn't do, right? Plumbing, electrical, you definitely want to have somebody who knows what they're doing. But if it's painting or, some smaller things, something you want to build, you can totally do that. Flooring is not too terrible to do, but you know your limits for sure.
Yeah. Would you say that it's more common for people to get a fixer-upper to then resell, or to get a fixer-upper to make into their dream home?
It's an interesting question. I'm going to say generally the fixer-upper market is probably a resale market.
Like a flip?
Yeah, if we're talking genuine needs to be fixed up. I mean, a lot of people move into a house and it doesn't necessarily need to be renovated or fixed up. They just have some preferential items that they want to work around. Like, I don't like the color of that room. I don't like the countertop in the bathroom. I don't like the tile on the kitchen floor. I don't like the backsplash, whatever. Like, I wouldn't call that a fixer-upper. I would call that just making it the way you want it. So a fixer-upper, I would say, is majority, especially over the last 10 years, investors that are doing short-term, what they call flips, which I find kind of a flippant word, but I prefer short-term investment.
Yeah, I was wondering, because I don't know, I feel like maybe it used to be more of a thing, but I still love all the shows where they're making their dream home. But I think that those shows make people like me think that they're capable of things that they're not. You know what I mean?
You're looking at a victim right here.
Have you done this? Have you tried to do this?
I just finished doing this in our Jiu-Jitsu academy. We did all the work ourselves. Demo day was a lot of fun, but everything is tedious and takes longer and is frustrating. And if you don't have the demeanor or time, it can genuinely be a struggle.
Yeah.
What do you qualify as a fixer-upper?
I think anything that, especially if there's any structural issues, things like that. I mean, that's why we say, right, home inspections all the time, because you need to know what you're getting into. So, I mean, structural issues, things where you want to move walls or it's very closed off and you want to open things up, something that's going to need a fair amount of work.
Yeah.
There's probably some general rule of thumb, like percentage of sales price that you have to spend in terms of renovation costs. $300,000 house, got to put $100,000 in it to make it worth $450. So you get your 50 equity. So call it 25%, 30%. Maybe that's when it becomes a genuine fixer-upper. But I would just make pulling numbers out of thin air.
What about homes that are Because I think when I think of a fixer-upper, I think of, have you seen The Notebook? Okay, well,
No.
do yourself a favor and watch it because it's
Second
a
person in
treasure.
2 days to tell me that.
Well, clearly God is sending you a signal.
Clearly.
Watch Notebook. But
Take a note of that.
Noah remodels this house for Allie. I won't tell you anything else because you gotta see it, okay? But it's not structurally sound. You know what I mean? Am I allowed as an individual to purchase a house or lot that is like not structurally sound, like the government or whoever it is that says like you can't come in here, and then gut it and redo it? Like, is that a thing? Do you get what I'm asking?
I mean, there's certain loan programs that you can do that are built for renovations. There's renovation loans that exist where if it's not structurally sound, depends on how badly. Is it just you need a structural engineer's report and things need to be fixed, or is it like a tear down part of it and build up? So it kind of depends on what you're dealing with.
Yeah, Erica nailed that. One of the biggest problems with purchasing a fixer-upper is getting a bank to underwrite it and give you a loan to go purchase a house that may not be livable. That's one reason why you see so many investors in that short-term investment, that flip game, because they're usually using cash and aren't subject to the timelines or underwriting requirements of a bank.
Yeah, can you tell me more about, because that was my next question, was like, how do I do this without cash? Like, what are my, I mean, I don't want to say what are my loan options, but you're telling me there are like different and multiple loan options out there just for me as a person to like go fix a house?
There are, yeah. So renovation loans, usually you have to keep a certain percentage of the house, but you have to use qualified contractors off of their list of people. So there are certain things in there that you could potentially do yourself as the process went forward, but there are things that they would require you still to hire out. Things, make sure permitted processes are done correctly, all of those pieces. It just depends on the situation, what the requirements will be.
So interesting.
Erica, maybe you've had an experience with someone that's used a renovation loan. I have not. Funny enough, in 20 years, all the renovation work has been either paid for out of pocket or with an investor using cash. But I suspect, like a construction loan, that you would get your first draw where you acquire the property, and then you would do a certain amount of work, and then you would get another draw from the bank after they've come and done an inspection. And I don't know if they do a reappraisal or anything, but you have that's one of the burdens of doing a renovation if you don't have the cash, is contending with the logistics of bank inspections and bank draws and timing your vendor payments, the roofer, the plumber, the electrician, HVAC people, with the draw time.
And there's some banks that will require, right, the work is done, it's approved, and they pay the contractor directly. So it kind of depends. That's one of those areas that things are constantly shifting in with the requirements. We looked into doing one when we first moved back to the area about 10 years ago, but it wasn't the right fit for us for what we needed. It was gonna, you have to pretty much be living somewhere else while you're doing that.
Yeah. What's the call to like action of people, not people who are wanting to do fixer-uppers, but why are like people willing to give loans to people who are doing fixer-uppers? Do you know what I'm saying? Is it so like we're removing like eyesores from the land? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Why is that allowed?
A bank doesn't care. A bank is in the business of lending money. They're not in the real estate business. They're not in the construction business. They just, borrow money at X percent and lend it out at X plus Y percent. So they just make their spread on their loans. So their incentive is to give you money for you to pay back with interest payments added on top of that. And they protect themselves with the asset they are lending you the money against, which in this example is a dumpy little house that you are going to renovate. So if this dumpy house, you can buy it for $100,000, they'll probably lend you $70,000. And then you put $50,000 of work into it, then they'll lend you another $50,000. And then you put another $50,000 worth of work in it, and they'll lend you another $50,000. So the value of the house always has to be higher than the amount of money the bank gives you.
Okay.
And so that's they don't care how it looks, they don't care what color you paint it, they don't care about the community and, this home is on the corner.
Do you think I'm crazy for asking that question though? Because doesn't that, do you know what I'm saying? Like, how do people know?
As a community member, I would love to see, like, particularly the gateways into our town. In Warrenton specifically, you would look at like Springs Road, you'd look at, Metz Road, you would look at Alexandria Turnpike, you would look at the exits, at the Walmart and the Sheets, and think those are the way people get into and out of town. So you would love to think that the town would incentivize people to make things really beautiful around those gateway points.
Yeah.
But they don't, and that's the town where people live, and the town managers and the town council people want everything to look great, but the bank doesn't care. Bank doesn't care at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's if we're talking about, like the bigger renovation type loans. But if you want what, maybe what TV would call a fixer up or something that's currently livable, just needs a lot of updating, right? Done to it. I mean, as long as the bank, like Tasha, doesn't care, as long as the value is still more than what they're lending you, that's fine.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to talk about what would be what you think would be the best option. We did a little bit of a this or that with Grant when we were talking about investments in our backyard. So I want to talk about, as a first-time homeowner, you guys telling me which of these things that I throw at you would be both the most cost-effective thing to improve, but also like is within my wheelhouse as a person, possibly. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Like the difficulty of the project?
Sure.
And the return on your investment.
And I have a deli, so
Yes,
keep that in
you do
mind.
have a deli.
Okay.
You have a handy
Okay. Kitchen remodeling or a primary bathroom remodeling? Sans plumbing.
I would go kitchen, because a lot of times that's right. That's you see it when you walk in, but there's a lot of things when you do a kitchen that you still want to hire out. Are you going to reface the cabinets, or are you going to replace them? If you're going to replace them, then that may not be in your wheelhouse.
Hanging cabinets is an art form.
Yes.
How often people install their own cabinets and they look fine, but they use the wrong type of screws. It's not perfectly level for the countertop to go onto. It's fraught with peril. But with respect to value, we could probably argue either way.
Right.
Because the kitchen is going to be, in most circumstances, the central hub of the house and the place where people spend the most time. But then again, the owners are going to live in the owner's suite and the owner's bathroom and the primary bathroom, primary bedroom, and you want that to be nice. So it's probably a circumstantial call, but if it would come to my head, I'd say what Erica said, kitchen.
What do you think a person is more capable of doing?
Oh,
A person, probably the bathroom.
yeah, sans plumbing, probably
Yeah.
the bathroom, just because it's a smaller space. Tile work. You could probably get YouTube certified in figuring out how to do tile.
I have
well
it
enough.
can't be that hard gene, so that's why I ask. I find myself getting myself into a situation like this, which is really why I'm doing this episode. I pray it doesn't happen, but I'm a bit stubborn.
There's a lot from contractors to homeowners. I think the most important thing is probably your perspective and your approach to things. Like, for every good contractor, there's 9 bad contractors. I call them the let it fly contractors. They do the tile, it's not perfect, and they go, just let it fly, it'll be fine. And then you've got the other ones that are like, that's not perfect, I'm gonna rip it apart and I'm gonna put it back together to be perfect. So if you have that like perfectionist gene of like, I can do this, those are the people probably most capable of doing it correctly. Having just ripped up tile in my kitchen and ripped up tile at our jiu-jitsu academy, they were both kind of hairy homeowner jobs that clearly were not done professionally and were not done well.
You mean the prior?
Yeah. The prior work was done really, really poorly. And that came with its own set of problems when we were doing the renovations. So not only are you thinking about how's it going to look and how's it going to feel when I'm living there, but in 25 years, when your kitchen's 25 years old and you want to redo it again,
Right.
like you don't want it to be impossible to undo.
Yeah.
So doing it well and doing it correctly is really important, especially if you're gonna do it again later or if you're gonna sell your house.
Yeah.
Well, and if you did get into the situation because the bathroom is a smaller space where you were like, okay, maybe I am in over my head, that would be a cheaper project
Right.
to bring somebody
Somebody
in
else
on
in.
to help you or to fix than the kitchen. Because if you do something wrong in the kitchen, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Like there's one thing I would never do in a kitchen is install my own countertops. I don't care how DIY you are.
Mm-hmm.
Something breaks or cracks.
Yeah. I know my limits. I
Yeah.
would say I know my limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Roof or windows? Take that as you will.
I personally would go roof if the roof was in bad shape because as soon as water gets in with windows, right, they might be drafty, hopefully they're not leaky, but if water is starting to get in and you have vulnerabilities up there, I would take care of that first because everything is going to come down and you don't want to be in a situation where you're dealing with mold.
Like it causes a bigger problem overall. Yeah.
Water is your biggest enemy for sure. So if you want a tight roof with, in good shape.
Are there roofs? Is that how it is?
Roofs.
Is that what it is?
Roofs.
Is it S? Interesting. It should be VES.
It's not like hoof and hooves.
But it
Yeah,
should be.
No.
Interesting.
Roofs.
Okay.
Roofs.
Do they exist where like the home inspector will be like, yeah, it's all right, but it's like still has like mold or like it's icky or leaky?
I mean, if a home inspector could certainly miss something, but if something needs to be replaced, that's what we have them there for. If they see something that's loose, when they're looking around, they're looking for, are all of the spaces sealed to make sure no water can come in. They look really closely at that. And if you see spots inside the house, right, while you're walking around, they're going to look and investigate, go in the attic and see if there is an issue coming up. If you look at the roof and you can see it sinking in, then you know there's probably a problem somewhere.
Do you ever see people remodel like the roof for like vanity reasons, or do people kind of
Sure.
avoid it because of how much of a cost it is?
To apply your vanity to a roof is going to be much more expensive than just throwing like 3-tab or more conventional 30-year architectural shingles on it. Like if you want to do a standing seam metal roof or copper, even just the detail of one ridge line or one roof line can be almost as much as the rest of the roof with typical shingles.
Interesting. But it happens.
It does happen, but in terms of return on investment, you're not going to get the money out of your vanity on your roof that you would get by
It's
putting
just
that other
for-
places.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who doesn't love the sound of rain hitting a metal roof floor?
Yeah.
So it's not all vanity.
Do you have a metal roof tile?
I have a metal roof line that goes across the porch.
Oh.
Not the whole house,
Yeah.
just the detail across the
I don't know if I ever pay attention to a roof. I will start. Okay, fireplace. Plus, maybe when I'm saying fireplace, I don't mean like the actual chimney inside. I mean like redoing the mantle. Maybe posting some shelves up there, getting one of whatever it looks like when you like indent in and whatever. Making that all look pretty and good. Or laundry room.
Well, fireplace, if there is no fireplace, is incredibly expensive to attach to a house.
I see.
So that's
If there is a fireplace, that's what I'm saying, sorry.
if there is a fireplace. Well, to give you an idea, I have a fireplace that I priced putting a wood stove in, which is you got to buy the wood stove and they run a new pipe up the chimney. That's without messing with the mantle. That's without messing with the what's the word I'm looking for? Where the surround.
Oh, yeah, the firebox.
That was going to cost like $9,000.
Okay.
Like just for that. So you can imagine how much more expensive it gets to do more. In a laundry room, especially with family here and there every day, twice a day.
I would say if it's in working order and you want to paint it or add some tile or something like that, it's probably relatively inexpensive to do those pieces if it's in functional order. Fireplace is great, but if it's not working, or functional people aren't really going to want to use it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do. You could convert it from wood burning to gas if you have gas available. So I think it would just be, what is your budget and what are the things you want to do?
I would 100%, well, I'm wondering because I would 100% buy a home for its laundry room because I love laundry. I love doing laundry. And I just think it's one of those
Can
things.
you come
that-
to my house?
Yeah, I'll bring the laundry to your house.
Oh, I don't like my laundry situation, which is why I'm buying a house for the laundry situation. But it's just like when it's just all aesthetic and beautiful and I can just picture it. But I don't know, do you find that people buy a home for a fireplace ever?
People definitely will say, I want a fireplace. I'm not buying a house without a fireplace.
Interesting.
And I mean, I've had people come in and, you know, if it makes the space, right? If it's the focal point, absolutely, it could be one of the
Make
things
or
that
break.
they fall in love with. But I've also seen people go, I can't do anything with this laundry room, right? So I think you could have people who fall in love with either of those two.
But I think you've hit the nail on one of the most underappreciated rooms in a house, though, which is the laundry room. Like seeing the stackables tucked into a closet drives me nuts. Like, where do you keep your cleaning stuff? Where do you fold? Where do you hang? Where do you?
A good laundry room
Where do
is
you
like
keep the
romantic,
excess stuff?
you know,
Yeah.
like, and it's when they have like organizers already there and it's just like it's clean.
Yeah.
It makes you think that everything's gonna be like okay, you know.
I think for you found your answer. I think laundry room is it
yeah,
for
for
you.
me, there's no question. Okay, so I only have one more question for you guys, and I'm wondering what, because you kind of answered my other ones, but what is like your favorite project, whether that's you helping a homeowner or something that you've done yourself that qualifies in the fixer-upper range, and expand on that.
Your favorite's tough to pick, like V1.
Maybe what did you feel the most satisfaction from?
You know, I haven't really had to sell a house that was, well, most of them are already fixed up when they go on the market.
Yeah.
But to help someone get through to the point of being on the market, like trying to get them to spend money to make the house better so that it sells for the most, is almost always like first impression oriented. You know, it's like putting new paint on the shutters, redoing the driveway, just things that when you pull in, you get a good feeling because it's such an emotional experience rather than a logical one in a lot of ways. You want to feel good. So seeing a nice, clean, well landscaped, you know, place goes a long way. So maybe landscaping also, which can be a renovation fixer-upper.
Oh,
in
totally.
itself.
That's honestly where I was going to go, because that's the first thing, you know, when you're walking up. If the outside doesn't look organized and like you could fall in love with it and see yourself there, it doesn't matter what the inside of the house
Really?
looks
And
like.
do you really believe that like the first impression is everything when it comes to buying a house?
Yeah.
100%. You have two first impressions, right? You have the first impression when you drive up to the house, but then you also have the first impression when you walk in the front door or whichever doorway you go in. Generally, front door is the best place to bring people in, but you know, having that foyer, if you look at a second spot that is welcoming and inviting and kind of can lead in, and a lot of times that's just putting a fresh coat of paint up on the walls.
Right.
But in terms of personal satisfaction of renovations that I've done, have been the kitchens.
Yeah.
100%.
And you enjoy it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hang the cabinets myself, but the designing of it and then, you know, painting and getting all of the pieces to work together, 100% kitchen.
And I'll share an anecdote related to why it's important to feel good when you get there. Like if you've ever been in a house where you see the listings online and it's got these beautiful photos and the place looks incredible, and then you get there and it sucks, like you feel bad. Like it doesn't feel like a good experience, and that all those photos did a disservice towards selling the house, because now you have to overcome the too high of expectations that weren't met, and that just goes to show you how important it is that somebody feels good when they get there, and it's more emotional than practical in a lot of ways.
That's interesting. Okay.
But long and short, fixer upper, it's going to cost more, it's going to take longer, and it's going to be more difficult than you think. But when you're done, it feels really, really good.
You'd say
And
it's more
you
about
get
the
to
character of the person than the budget, obviously.
character and budget.
Yes.
You gotta setting your expectations to be, I'd just say 20% more money, 20% more time.
Would you, and this will be my last question for realsies, have you ever told a client like, no, it's not for you? You know what I mean? Like, have they ever proposed like, I'm gonna do a fixer upper, and you just knowing them have been like, I don't think that's a good idea for you as your agent?
I've never told someone what to do, but I've shared my unadulterated, honest opinion for what it's worth.
That's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at.
I mean, and a lot of times it comes out as questioning, like, this looks like a lot of work. Like, what
Right, it's
have
more
you done
scary.
these types of projects, right? And a lot of times that's looking at, like, these might be things that could come up as needing to be done. Do you have experience with that? And sometimes, right, when you walk in and you're like, I love this place, yes, I could do it. And then it takes people a couple days. That's why, right, we always say kind of sleep on it, right? Think about it, decide, give yourself some time, because I have had clients who were gung-ho about things, and then when they slept on it, they're like, yeah, maybe that's out of my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Which speaks to the overall theme that we talk about every single time we talk is, if you're gonna buy a house, talk to somebody right now, start getting ready right now, because it is such an emotional experience that if you have to do all of this super, super fast, you can make a decision that you're not really happy with. Like, talk to your loan officer, talk to your realtor, go see a couple houses. Maybe you're not buying something for 9 months. Good, start now, because you want to be in a good place mentally, psychologically, emotionally, to pull the trigger on that perfect spot that comes up and not get squirrely or have to sleep on it because you've already given it lots of thought and research.
Well, thank you. Do you guys have anything to add before we wrap?
Just that you're awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so glad you came and that we got to have you on here. We post episodes every other Wednesday, and you can follow us on YouTube, and we're always just associated with the Ross Instagram. Tyler, where can we find you?
Well, via the Ross Instagram, Ross Real Estate VA, sorry, Tyler James Ross VA. I'm not hard to find. I spend a lot of money in advertising, so hopefully I'm easy to find.
Where can we find you?
Yeah, same. Go to Ross online and any of the plays, and you can catch any of my handles on there.
Perfect. Okay, we do a combined bye. Ready? So it's going to be on 3. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.